In this episode of Viral Rewind, we're looking at the Rigel Windows virus. Now, you can tell from the icon here, this is basically an infected copy of the Windows calculator. And Rigel is a polymorphic, non-memory resident virus, so it does try to change its code every time it's executed to avoid detection, but because it's non-memory resident, its infection only spreads at every run occurrence. It does not stay in memory and infect files as you run them. Only when you run the virus, each time will it actually spread its infection. Now, take a look at our details here. So if we go into our version history, we can see it's Microsoft Corporation. And from this here, we can tell that it's in Spanish, and we can verify that by looking at the language. It says Spanish International Sort. And we can confirm that if we look at our regular calculator, version history. And we can tell actually that this must be a newer version of calculator that became infected with the Rigel virus, because this is version 5.0.174 is whatever, and this is 4.9, so this apparently, according to the product, this was from a Spanish version of the Microsoft Windows NT system, and we're running Microsoft Windows Millennium on this computer, so this might have come off of XP or Windows 2000 potentially. Other than that, it's all the same stuff again. Calculator, Microsoft Corporation. So, again, an infected version of calculator from a Spanish version of the Windows NT-based operating system. Now, since this virus is intended to infect files when it's run, it looks for files in the root directory of C, the Windows folder, and the Windows System folder, and tries to infect those applications with the Rigel code. However, because of something in Windows since Windows 98, if you try to execute this, we get a fatal error dialog box here saying that it's caused a problem in SFC.DLL. Now, this is the system file checker, and it's of course a dynamic link library associated with the system file checker program. And what that is it monitors Windows files and applications for potential corruption and stuff, allowing you to be able to restore them. So either SFC is intercepting this virus and keeping it from running by forcing it closed, or the program is trying to manipulate it somehow to avoid detection, and it still ends up crashing it anyway. So this virus ultimately, at least from Windows 98 and certainly Millennium here onward, failed to infect Windows files. Now, that doesn't mean that Windows 95, if it was used on an older system, it still could potentially infect those files. So yeah, every time when something like this is run, it just fails to infect. But it does have a payload, and its payload works on December 22nd. So if it's December 22nd and you run the program infected with the Rigel virus, you get this happening. And what it does is it basically draws all the message box icons across the screen here, overlaid on top of anything you might have. So if the start menu was open, it would draw over top of that. If you have a window open, it'll draw over that as well. And so it prints out all things like the information dialog box, the critical stop dialog box, and, the exclamation for errors and things like that, and it will just keep on drawing these over and over. Now, of course, you can clear it temporarily through refreshing or dragging icons or windows or things like that, but if you want to stop the payload, just go into Task Manager and look for virus. And that will halt it there, and that pretty much takes care of that. So really, that's all there is to the Rigel Windows virus.